welcome everybody to the Magic Beans podcast. We are back again for episode number 182. I'm your host tonight, and my name is Shorty, and I am joined by two beans. We have Chewy. How's it going, mate?
Good, mate. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yes,
good to be back.
Happy New Year to you too. We also have Cracker. How's it going, Cracker?
Good, thanks, buddy. How are you?
Pretty good. Glad to be back and getting back into the swing of things, I guess.
Feels like it's been a while since we've had all three of us on.
Yeah, it has been a while since all three of us have been on, but I mean, it's been nearly a month since we released a podcast as well, so there's also that.
Yeah.
Tends to happen through this time of the year. We all go on Christmas holidays and New Year's and, away from home, and there's just lots of stuff going on, so... And usually not much going on in the world of Magic, but that has changed very quickly as they start getting into what we're going to spend a fair bit of time talking about tonight, which is Karlov Manor. Or Murders at Karlov Manor, as it is actually called, the upcoming set release.
Have you guys adjusted to not calling it Markov Manor and thinking it's on Innistrad, not on Ravnica yet? Because I'm almost there.
I realised...
Where is Soren?
I realised today I was typing in, I was looking for stuff about Karlov Manor, and I was typing in Karlov Manor, M-A-N-N-E-R, like manners. I'm like, that doesn't look right.
Not M-A-N-A.
No, not M-A-N-A, not like a manor.
Yeah, as in good manners.
Like, how many different, because you've got you've got M-A-N-A.
There's all manner
M-A-N-O-R,
of ways to spell it.
Yeah.
Yes.
M-A-N-N-A, that's the other one. Yep.
This is the content people tune in for.
Exactly.
Spelling lessons with someone who can't talk properly. All right.
You know who can talk properly?
Who?
Pat.
He can talk way too much. I don't know if I'd call that properly.
Has, Pat can speak copiously. And the other thing that's copious are the auctions every night on his Facebook page. JPMTG Bazaar, of course. He's got a lot of cards. And I mean, we always say it leading into new sets, but you should go check them out because they do claim lots. Pat always has amazing prices and always adjusting. So if you pay for something that then drops really rapidly in value because people realize it isn't quite the hotness they thought, then he usually honors those things. So go check him out. Always keeping it up to date. JPMTG Bazaar on Facebook. And when you win stuff, tell them the bean sent you.
Very good. I like that you just wrapped me up on the tangent that we were going on. And
you're taking too long. Yeah, no, we're just...
Cracker's got something to be.
We are recording much later than we normally would. So.
Bed. I'm so tired. My kid woke me up at 4:30 this morning. And,
very nice. All right. Well, like I said, we've all been, having Christmas breaks, sort of. Chewy, you took one for the team and worked through. Yeah, you're on holidays now.
It was my turn. I worked the 3 days between Christmas and New Year's, but did catch up with you guys briefly over the New Year's weekend, which was nice. But then that couple of weeks in between was a really long month. That 2 weeks, let me tell you. But back on leave now, and I've been down the coast, done some snorkeling. How's this, Shorty? I've figured out it's somewhere between 20, more than 20, but less than 25 years since I stood up on a surfboard. Fourth go.
Wow.
Fourth go, stood up on it and rode a wave. That was pretty good. Yeah.
Nice.
That, didn't feel insanely confident, but did stand up, and it was like, oh, that's fun. I remember that was a fun thing. Now I'm tired. So
I was going to say, how much did your arms hurt the next day from paddling out?
It was like, oh, it's a wave coming. How do I duck dive under this thing again?
Yeah.
But managed and got the job done. It wasn't graceful. It wasn't fluent, but I did it. So I'm taking that as a win.
Nice.
I just took waves in the face whenever I tried to duck dive, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much it.
And then my board would flip up and hit me, and it's just I never got that good at surfing.
Yep. I found I spent so much energy and effort getting out to where you want to be to catch the waves that by the time I got out there, I was so dead. And then you just sit there on your board for like half an hour catching your energy, and then you try and catch one wave and you just get dumped. And then you just give up.
What is surfing except the ocean trying to throw you out, right?
It's the ocean trying to kill you, yeah. Last time I went surfing, I was caught a wave and I'm like pushing down on my board to stand up, and I look down in the water and I can just see rocks. There's like an inch of water over the rocks
Yeah,
that I'm
that happened
about
me
to
at
like
Noosa
surf
once,
over, and I was just like, yeah, no, I'm out of here.
It was pretty insane. Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit scary sometimes. The ocean's a powerful thing. Yeah.
Yep. And then you got sharks and all that sort of stuff as well. So I'm not a fan of sharks. They are quite scary. It's the fear of the unknown, I find, in the ocean. It's all right when you're snorkeling and you can see under there, but when you can't see what's underneath you, it's like, no good.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else did we do over Christmas, Cracker?
Do I need to change it? So Pat is a magical auctioneer.
That's actually a very true statement. He is a magical auctioneer.
I know.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that you can combine your shipping. So I've got 5 auction wins, separate auction wins. But I'm only going to pay one lot of shipping. For a year. So that is absolutely amazing. No, I was just waiting for payday because things are expensive this time of year.
Pat's holding on to them since he hasn't paid for them yet. But
he's just going to.
Yep. Nice.
What did I do? I caught COVID for Christmas.
Yeah,
that was fun.
That's right. Yeah, right before Christmas.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it was. My family caught it off me. So I was fine just before Christmas, which was pretty handy. Had a couple of things I had to get done. So, but yeah, we ended up sort of just having Christmas Day at home, and then a couple of days later caught up with family and stuff. But yeah, saw you blokes a bit. And Chris hung out, played some Magic.
Yeah, well, me, you and Chris played some Magic in person. We actually had to shuffle and things at one point, which was pretty fun.
Had to cut your opponent's decks.
Yeah, actually a lot of shuffling. Like my deck has 7 fetch lands or something.
Yeah, a lot of shuffling.
Yeah, so we played in a unified team Highlander event at Plenty of Games in the city, which was a whole lot of fun. We had a whole lot of fun. We didn't do a whole lot of winning, but it was an amazing event, and people turned up. We saw Pat there, and
yeah, we did.
I saw a lot of people I hadn't seen for a little while. Cracker and Chris were laughing at me, just the amount of random men that were coming up and hugging me that hadn't seen me for some time. But it was great. So I'd not been physically into POG before. Great store, great location. The air conditioning did its best to hold up on a 32-degree day, but it was.
We also had 75 Magic players plus. There was Yu-Gi-Oh! Happening and I think Pokemon as well.
Yeah, there was another event going on. Yeah, there was well over 100 people. Must have been 100
plus people.
Yeah, which was super cool. So, for those who don't know, 7 Point Highlander is basically think about it as constructed cube, vintage cube, except that there's a points list. So things like Black Lotus and Thassa's Oracle and Moxes and Sol Ring and things have a points allocation, and you can play a total of 7 points in your deck, 60 card deck, no commander. And we had unified points lists. So my deck was playing Force of Will, so Cracker couldn't play Force of Will, for example. So
feels bad, man.
Sorry, probably would have won you a few games, but it won me a couple games. So
I only drew the replacement once, and it was right.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Happy to hear that. That's good. So team event, typical team thing. The 3 of us. We put me in the middle just because if Chris was in the middle, I wouldn't be able to see Cracker around him because he's a much bigger human than I am.
That's a very good point.
Yep. So just by virtue of Cracker and Chris being able to look over me and communicate with each other without me having to duck my head at all. So yeah, it was really, really fun. I played a teamer tempo sort of fish style deck. Chris played lands, and Cracker, you were bringing a bit of spice. What were you playing?
I was playing Grixis. It was honestly, it's like playing Murktide in Modern. So playing all the pitch elementals, including Fury, because why not? And then also playing Thassa's Oracle and Demonic Consultation for the 2-card win combo. It was a lot of fun. The deck was great. I cast Reanimate a bunch of times on Troll of Khazad-dûm. That's a great card to reanimate, just quietly. Cycle it away, get your swamp, untap, cast Animate Dead on it, your opponent counters it, untap again, cast Reanimate, take 1 million damage. It's fantastic. I had a great time. I got to do all the things I like to do. Counter spells, graveyard shenanigans, and I win combos.
And we got to play fetches with OG dual lands, and you know, I was casting like Gush and like Force of Wills and Lightning Bolts and Dazers and things. So it was like, it's really fun. Would you say that it feels like it's like on par power level with Modern?
Nah, it feels way more
powerful than Modern. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah. You have like, I was going to say you have less consistency, but certainly in the decks that we were playing, you just didn't.
There's so much
like,
redundancy.
I saw so many cards. Well, so much redundancy, but you just cantrip so hard. Like my deck was playing Mishra's Bauble and the other Bauble. I forget what that one is. And so you're doing that. You're doing Ledger Shredder. It's got Ragavan and DRC. Like my deck just churned through
and
it.
I was
just
like playing a lot of those cards as well. Yeah. Plus Brainstorm, Ponder, Preordain, you know, all of those cheap cantrips as well. So yeah, this format's super fun.
Yeah. It's great. The most expensive cards in my deck, you didn't actually pay the mana value for. It's like Murktide costs blue. And then it's an 8/8. And then, the grief is free. Subtlety is free. Troll costs 1 and 6 life. It's very cool. And then, like, a great variety of stuff that we played against too. Like, I played against someone who was on like full Doomsday Storm. They like Tendrils of Aghanim, which was fun.
Yeah, I got Brain Freeze.
Like, they're actually
at one point. Yeah.
And then what else did I play against? Played against Mono White, which that went pretty well for me.
Nice. I played against a couple of like 4-color piles. Like one had Omnath and like things. Eladamri's call. Is that how you pronounce it? Yep. Yeah, just went and found an Omnath and just did like Omnath things. He was pretty salty when I cast Magus of the Moon. But yeah, like I played against like an Is It Spellslinger deck, like heaps of different variety. I lost to like Underworld Breach combo and things as well. So like basically like the format's a Wild West. Like you can just literally do whatever you want. Chris was just like making Marit Lasers and strip mining dudes.
I looked over at one point and Chris had a Merit Lage in play with a Shadow Spear on it.
Ooh, that's rough.
Facing down an Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn on the other side.
And Chris won that game.
He won that game.
Yeah, that was sick.
He got annihilated twice and still won.
Yeah.
He also beat a Progenitus, which was in play on the other side too.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Cool. Like, format is sick. So definitely keen to play some more Highlander. Yeah. It's my favorite. Like if like Cube is like peak limited, I feel like Highlander for me is like peak constructed. Like personally, like I completely subjective opinion. It is a format I enjoy the most from its creativity, from its diversity. We've got a great community here in Melbourne that play it, and everybody's really really passionate about it and inclusive, and everybody's kind of, you say the word Highlander and like people like sit up straight in their chair and like,
yeah, they're like meerkats, man. Their heads just pop up out of nowhere.
Good. Yeah. So yeah, it's good.
My worst loss for the day was against Goblins, and he went turn 1 Mountain Mox Ruby, cast a Goblin that costs 2, and it has double strike, and whenever it deals combat damage to you, you can put a Goblin from your hand into play.
Yeah, that's.
And I played a Triome on the draw and passed the turn.
Nice.
I scooped on my turn 3 after cycling a Lorien Revealed. I think I cycled, and then I was like, "Yeah, let's go next." Like it was not close.
Sometimes it happens. Yeah, like I won a game where I went Ragavan turn 1, turn 2. I went like DRC and Goblin Guide with Force of Will backup. So yeah, like, you know, sometimes you get those like I win heads. Other times you are on the receiving end of those. So, but that's any Eternal format, right? Like it'll happen to you once, maybe twice in a tournament, but you'll also do it maybe once or twice in a tournament. So it all kind of works out. So yeah.
What were you going to ask?
I was going to say, what was your record in the end?
How did you end up going? We left early and went and got barbecue. Put it that way.
Oh, nice. So you were winning.
We definitely won.
Yeah, I think
You
we
won
won
eating
one
meat.
round and then went, you know what, let's go to Fancy Hanks and get some brisket.
Nice.
It was pretty good.
That's good. Well, yeah, if you're interested at all in 7 Point Highlander, go to 7, as in the number 7ph.com.au. And that is their main page, which gives you all the information about what it is, the rules, the points, and then all the regular updates. They do have a committee, a points committee, or whatever they call themselves, where they regularly catch up and discuss if anything needs adjusting, and they do adjust up and down points and take things off the points list and all that sort of stuff. And then there is a rule which was added towards the end of last year, where if your deck contains no cards on the reserve list, you get an additional point. So you can actually spend 8 points, which is pretty cool, I think. That's reserve list cards are expensive. So being able to go, well, I don't want to spend all that money on reserve list cards, and then being benefited, that's not the word I'm thinking of. Rewarded, that's the word I'm thinking of. Being rewarded for not having to spend that money is pretty cool. So
it's an accessibility change, right? Like it's really good. You can play like shock lands instead of dual lands, and sure, your deck power goes down a notch, but you get an extra point, which is great. So yeah, did you know that shock lands are first printed in Ravnica?
They were.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. And
there's mysteries there.
Yeah, that's it. Particularly around Karlov Manor. This might be our best segue ever, by the way. It's there's a new set coming out.
Well, before you segue, I wanted to shout out Mr. J Mud. So you guys weren't around for this, but Polywaffle, Chris and I both were back down where our caravans are down Geelong Way on Sunday night, and we went over to J Mud's house. He had us over. Chris and I went out for dinner, and then we went over to J Mud's house, and we busted out the Doctor Who Commander decks again. So we played those on stream with J Mud when they first came out. That was a lot of fun. We all sort of went, those decks were cool, but extremely complicated.
Really hard to play on camera.
Yeah, also very hard to play on camera. Yep.
I had the deck that stole all the things, right? Which I'm actually holding in my hand yet, Shorty, at the moment, because I haven't given it back yet.
I've got 3 of them now. I'm just waiting for that last
5
one.
minutes later, Shorty still.
Yeah, just type Beans giveaway in the chat, and we'll send that out to you, okay?
So we played the 3 decks, or three of the 4 decks against each other, and had a stack of fun. The decks, they really are cool decks. Like if you're a Doctor Who fan, you're just spending the entire time just going, man, this is awesome. They've just hit this out of the park for flavour and the design to suit the TV show. But the decks were just really fun to play, and did have a lot of, there was just so many small synergy things that as you're playing, it's like, I can be doing this and I can be doing this, and just sort of rolling that on. The other thing we did was we actually played with the plane chase cards, which I've never done before.
Yeah, I've done that for years now.
It was like a whole nother dimension to the game of like balancing, do I want to stay on this plane that we're on? Do we want to go to the next plane? Like, how do we want to do it? And the first game that we played, I actually lost because one of my doctors gave me 2 upkeeps, and the plane that we were on had a negative effect in your upkeep where you lost life, and it escalated each turn. And so I got killed by the upkeep trigger that I couldn't get rid of because I had
That's amazing.
2
it's
upkeeps.
Greatness at
it's like
any
dying
cost.
to a mana crypt.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. All that.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun, and shout out to J Mud for being a gracious host and providing cheese and Doritos. good combination. But
that's awesome. J-Mud is amazing.
Yep. All right, now we can go back to your awesome segue that you did, Chewy, that I completely ruined, and pick it up with Karlov Manor. So, yes, as we said earlier, the next set that is releasing soon is The Murders at Karlov Manor, and it is set on Ravnica. So it is a murder mystery set in the world of Ravnica. No guilds, despite that being what Ravnica is the most well known for, the couple of times we've been back there. There are no guilds, but we've got a whole bunch of characters that we've seen before on Ravnica and a few locations and things like that, but it is all centered around a murder mystery. So that's interesting. We've never seen that before from a set perspective, and they are actually releasing with this a set of what we in Australia call Cluedo. In the US, they just call it Clue. That is a Ravnica Karlov Manor themed Cluedo set. So interesting. It's one of those, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did they make some thing of like, hey, we want to release a Cluedo set for Magic and then make a set around it? Or did they go, hey, we're making this murder mystery set, we should have Cluedo? I'm assuming
I reckon the second way. Yeah. I reckon they decided they were going to do like a murder mystery story and then went, oh, hey, we've got this other IP product that we can...
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm assuming it's a Hasbro IP.
Yeah.
Yep.
It definitely is.
So, set is coming out soon. Pre-release is the 2nd of Feb, which is not that far away. I think that's 3 weeks. So usual, go out to your pre-releases at your stores. There is no early access streamer event for this set. Apparently there was meant to be, and they've had to cancel it already for some reason. I don't know what the reasoning is.
Perfect.
We didn't get any communication about it, but I've heard that from other people. And then it will release on Arena on the 6th of Feb and paper release on the 9th of Feb. So we're going to go through the mechanics like we normally do when new sets are coming out and give you an update on all those, and then maybe talk about some of the cards. But one thing before we get into that, just to mention quickly, they are adding Smuggler's Copter to the list on Arena. So the packs on Arena have that potential of cracking a card that is on the list, which is a set of cards that gets updated every now and then, where you can get things like some of the secret lairs, the mechanically unique secret lair cards get put on the list as magic cards and different things like that. But Smuggler's Copter was not put onto Arena when Kaladesh Remastered was released on Arena because it was on the ban list, and I guess they went, why bother coding it? And so now that it is unbanned, everyone was kind of wondering how we were going to get access to that. So it is going to be on the list in the Karlov Manor packs, which is, a good thing. Means that...
But you can also spend wildcards on it, right?
Yeah, you should be able to spend wildcards. Yeah, once it's been released, it'll be there, so you can spend wildcards and get them how you would normally get your cards.
All right. Looter Scooter is a powerful thing.
Sure is. Mm-hmm. Cracker, you are the mechanics man.
I am.
Let's go. Let's take us through a whole bunch of mechanics that are the same as other mechanics.
Everything's kicker,
that's
right?
not true. No, we've got morph. Everything is morph this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first one is called Disguise. It's morph. You can cast it so it's an alternate casting cost for creatures, and it will cost a total of 3 generic mana, and it's a 2/2. But this time that is the same text as Ward, right? And then, as Morph. Ward. It has Ward 2 on it now as well, which Morphs never did. So this is a huge buff to Morph's disguised creatures. You get a little token that says a mysterious creature, which has the rules text on what it is. But it's a 2/2 with Ward 2. And then you can flip it up for its disguise cost. So disguise costs will be different from card to card, color to color. We've got one here that's picked a good one. Defenestrated Phantom.
You got that.
So defenestrated is the word for when someone is thrown out of a window.
Oh, okay.
In case you're wondering.
That's what's on the art, so...
Correct. That makes sense. So it's normally like 4 white for a 4/3 flying, but it's got disguise of 4 and a white. So you pay your 3 mana, you play it as a 2/2 with Ward 2, and then at some point when you have 4 and a white, you can flip it up. So you can use this as a combat trick. You can do things like that. Anything that would refer to, increased power or toughness. You get the deal. It's an instant speed thing. You can do it.
Yeah, same timing as Morph, right? At any time. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime you have priority, you can do it. So the key points are that if you block, this creature has flying, right? So if you attack with it as the mysterious creature, and then someone blocks it with,
another mysterious creature,
2/3, yeah, something like that. You flip it up, they will trade, but it won't gain flying and then fly over the top. It has been blocked. Like standard blocking rules apply.
Yep.
So you can certainly do it beforehand, but yeah, it's Morph with Ward. That's it.
It makes Morph more playable. Morph had like a couple of cards that were exceptions that maybe made it into constructed decks, like the Pickles combo, back in the day, where you'd lock your opponent out, or Kai Bude's invitational card that counted some spells. But morph as a mechanic, like playing a morph deck, has rarely been like a competitive, like standard option. This
kind of. There was a lot of it that got played in the Khans block. Like, there wasn't a morph deck as such, but there were a lot of really strong morph cards.
Mostly creatures that had abilities, like, when they were turned face up. This, and that's why they were strong, because it's an unknown thing, except for all the decks where it's like, you only played this one morph card. So
and that's like the Pickles combo,
right?
They play that face down creature, you know you're about to get Brine Elementaled. So pickled, exactly. So yeah, this just makes them a little less susceptible to point removal. Obviously, as well. Well, actually, timing wise, right? So I have a mysterious creature. You go, I'm gonna hit that with a cut down, right? I say, okay, ward. Then you pay the cost. Then I can flip my creature, right? Yep. Or I can flip it in response. Yeah, right. Yep.
Correct.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, it's just better.
After their spell is on the stack, then you get priority again to respond however you'd like. But that's after the war trigger.
I like it.
It seems really good. Also, super good in limited.
Yeah, like...
I don't know if that's what you were going to say, Shorty.
I was going to say that, like, a couple of things to note, that morphing the creature, so turning it face up, is not it re-entering the battlefield. So it's not it doesn't get exiled and then brought back in to trigger any sort of creature entering or permanent entering the battlefield trigger. It's just flipping it over. It's just turning it face up. So just sort of keep that in mind.
I'm not sure if it's silly.
It is the same game object.
Yes. Yep. And if you're playing in a tournament, it is actually in the tournament rules that when a game ends, you have to reveal what your disguised
face
creatures are.
Yep.
As you did with morph creatures, you had to reveal your morph creatures at the end.
Yeah, and when they die as well, they end up face up in your graveyard or anything along those lines. If they get exiled, they are exiled face up. It becomes known information.
Yep. All right. What's the next morph?
Cool. No, Shorty. This one's called Cloak.
Oh, okay.
And this one's a different form of manifest,
which is morph.
Also just morph. Yeah. That's it. So,
Morphifest.
I literally, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why we've got.
Why do we have both of them in the same set?
Yes,
I'm sure there's some difference.
Well, cloaking is taking a face-up creature and disguising it.
So you can turn it face down.
So you can get multiple uses out of it.
It specifically has to be a creature that has disguise. So I don't know why they couldn't just have left this as disguise.
But it's like, I'm going to kill your guy, but I'm like, I'm going to flip him the other way, and now he has ward and counter it. Yeah, right?
Because it's got ward. Sure.
That seems like a lot of hoops to jump through to not have my creature die. Including probably spending a card to do that. But anyway, that's the set that we've got. It's
I tell you,
I guess if there's whenever a creature getting multiple uses out of turning creatures face up, or if there's the new Vanifar puts counters on colorless creatures, so then when they flip up because of the same game object, they keep the counter, so you can get multiple uses out of that. It all seems very there's a lot of game actions involved there.
Rube Goldberg.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I tell you what's not, though, is Investigate. This is good. We create clues, right?
Yeah.
So if something investigates, you create a clue token, which is an artifact with 2 tap sacrifice. Actually, it's just 2 sacrifice this artifact to draw a card. You don't have to tap it, which can be relevant sometimes.
Yeah.
Not very often, but it's worth noting. But yeah, clues are good. You get to draw cards. They're just like 2 mana, draw a card, instant speed, kind of just chilling there, ready to go.
Great
just
mechanic.
Another game object on the battlefield.
Yeah, there's a couple of cards that I'm going to talk about later on that benefit a lot from artifacts being sacrificed. There's a couple of really strong ones.
I mean, we've
and clues are a really good way to do that.
We've got maps, we've got blood tokens, treasures, clues. Like there's just artifacts.
Mayhem Devil is just licking his lips, Shorty.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, that was in Ravnica the last time we went there, so let's bring that back.
No reprint.
It was.
No reprint. Not yet.
Well,
at least.
not yet. Yep. We've got hope.
All right. So the next one we have is suspect. So
Is it suspect or suspect?
Yes. Like,
if you suspect a creature,
It is a suspect.
then it picks up the new designation of suspected. It's basically, so what it does is when a creature is suspected, it gains menace and can't block for as long as it remains suspected. So it says once a creature is suspected, it remains suspected until it leaves the battlefield or another effect causes it to no longer be suspected. If a suspected creature stops being a creature, it remains suspected. In brackets, if anything, you should suspect it way more now. So, which is actually pretty good. I kind of like that. A lot of spirits and things. So the example card here we've got is Argus Kos, Spirit of Justice. It's 2 red-white for a 2/4. It's got double strike and vigilance, and it says whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, choose up to 1 target creature. It's suspected, exile it. Otherwise, if it's suspected, exile it. Otherwise, suspect it.
So it enters the battlefield and it makes a creature suspected because it suspects it. And then when it attacks the following turn, you exile that creature.
Correct.
And then the next time you attack, you get to suspect something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually seems really strong.
A quick lore tangent, like, oh my goodness, give Argus Kos, like, just let the dude die. So Argus Kos was like a sergeant or, some officer in the Boris garrison, right, in OG Ravnica. And the original Ravnica book had him as like a central character. And he was investigating the schism. So the whole deal with OG Ravnica was there was a thing that stopped people like passing to the afterlife. That's why we had like haunt and spirits and things. And he died and was like investigating that. So like that was a really, really long time ago. And you really felt for the dude because he just, like, he's like, I'm dead. I just want to be dead. Like, let me go. And he just keeps being, like, drawn back to the material world. And he's
now he's a spirit detective. Yeah,
and his flavor text says, eventually I'll give retirement another shot, but not today. Like, I feel like, retirement age, is 65 or when you die, but apparently not on Ravnica. It's when you stop being useful. So, yeah.
Yeah, the Orzhov aren't dead with you, done with you just because you're dead.
No, that's right. Well, right. He's not Orzhov, but, he's Boris. But,
I know,
yeah.
but, yeah.
So I kind of feel for him. Like, I read those books and I like him as a character. But, it's like, just let the dude rest. Goodness me.
I just scryfold him and he was actually, there was another card printed in one of the Jumpstart sets. As an eternal soldier, so he's a spirit soldier. So he's gone from his original card, he was a human soldier, then he went to being a spirit soldier, and now he is a spirit detective.
Well, he's been busy, he's been studying, at least, and using his time.
What else do you do?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What you do, what do detectives do, Cracker? Here you go.
They collect evidence.
There we go.
Oh, where's the soundboard, Shorty? That is the next keyword we have. So collect evidence is a ward ability. So it's ward, and then it says collect evidence 4 in this case. So there'll be a number. It is the additional cost to pay for ward, and what you have to do is exile any number of cards from your graveyard with a mana value to the indicated number or greater. So in this case, we've got the Axebane Ferox, which is 2 green for a 4/4 Death Touch Haste. Ward, collect evidence 4. So slightly fewer words than Questing Beast, but not a lot. So to kill this, you have to kill it, and then you have to have 4 mana value of cards in your graveyard that you can then exile. So it could be a single 5-drop, and you get rid of that, or it can be, 2 2s. You guys can do maths. You play Magic.
No, maths is for blockers.
Or not. Maths, yeah, exactly. It's there.
Just to point out, it's not just a ward ability. So collect evidence can be used in a bunch of different ways. So the collect evidence part, the exiling cards from your graveyard is sort of a cost in some circumstance. So I'm just looking at a card called Extract a Confession, which is 1 and a black for a sorcery, and it's got as an additional cost to cast this spell, you may collect evidence 6 which is exile cards with total mana value 6 or greater from your graveyard. And then the rest of its text is each opponent sacrifices a creature. If evidence was collected, instead each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. So it is basically Kicker. Except you're paying by exiling cards from your graveyard for...
Oh, you mean like Delve Kicker?
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, it'll be used in a bunch of different ways, but yeah, you're paying an additional cost, which is delving a specific mana value or greater of cards from your graveyard.
Yeah.
So yeah, which makes
I don't hate this mechanic.
Really hard to kill.
Yeah, and the Axebane Ferox is a pretty cool card. You will lose to this at the pre-release.
Yeah, that's likely.
Yes, you
will. 4/4 Death Touch Haste. That's extremely hard to kill. Is going to be rough.
So the next and final one that we have, let me rephrase that. The final new keyword that they've put in their article, as opposed to the other keywords that we found when we were scrolling through cards on Scryfall, is cases. So cases are a new type of enchantment. They're kind of saga-ish, kind of dungeony, but neither of those things. So the example is I'm going to do, because this is a card that made me excited. It's Case of the Ransacked Lab. It's 2 and a blue, and it's an enchantment case. It says instant and sorcery spells you cast cost generic less to cast, so 1 generic less. And then you solve the case. So to solve, you've cast 4 or more instant and or sorcery spells this turn. And then if unsolved, you solve it at the beginning of your end step. So when this case has been solved, the solved rule applies, which says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. So they will all be along those lines. There's another one here, which is actually Case of the Filched Falcon, which is blue for a case. And it says when it ETBs, investigate, so you create a clue token. And then to solve it, you have to control 3 or more artifacts. And then when it's solved, you sacrifice this case, you put 4+1/+1 counters onto target non-creature artifact. It becomes a 0/0 bird creature with flying in addition to its other types. So if you've got 4 clues in play, one of them becomes, a 4/4 bird at the beginning of your end step, which is pretty cool. So a few things I like about this, like the sagas, I think everyone just universally agrees has played out really well. The battles have played out pretty well too in different forms. So I like the space of doing things in enchantments. The real win to me is that it's the beginning of your end step. So like the Case of the Filched Falcon, right? You can cast it in your second main, trigger the thing immediately, pass the turn, then you get a 4/4 at the beginning of your end step. So there's no waiting till your upkeep or any of that sort of stuff. It makes it much harder for people to kind of mess with you in terms of the timing side of it.
It's less likely to become like a mini game, around,
Correct. Yeah. And that was always one of the hard things. I mean, Saga's obviously brought crazy value looking at you.
Fable Saga.
Goblin Fable. Yeah. Urza Saga is a different thing. But yeah, Fable is what I'm thinking of. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how pushed these get.
Probably not very.
Thoughts? No?
I think that kind of like the battles, they played them fairly safe.
Okay.
They were playable.
And it was kind of the same. Yeah, I mean, a few of them are, but it was the same with Sagas when we first saw Sagas. Like it was like, oh, these are cool. And a couple of them got played. And then as we saw more and more and more Sagas, we ended up with Fable and the Mirror Breaker.
Yeah, I mean, we started it with like Elspeth Conquers Death, and there were quite a few in that first set.
The
that
Machiko
were really good.
one
the Eldest Reborn was another really good one.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so
good,
these
but
will
not
all
busted,
have...
but not Fable, right? Like to Shorty's point, like Fable's like peak power level.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So these will all have a first ability, that may be a when this enters the battlefield ability, or it may be a static ability, like the sorceries costing 1 less to cast. Then they'll all have a second ability, which is the to solve clause, which will always trigger at the beginning of your, or check at the beginning of your end step. And then once you meet that condition for that second one, then that second part no longer applies. You've now solved it, and so then the third part will permanently apply. So in the case of the Ransack Lab one, the first and the third abilities stay on. Like you're not. It's not like a saga where you're losing those abilities. So that you still have the instant sorceries cost one less to cast, and then you also have the when you cast an instant sorcery, you draw a card. It's just the middle ability that is that conditional one that gets you to that third ability. So yeah, interesting design. Lots of words.
Lots of words.
Always.
I'd be interested to see the timing on this one. I don't think it's a triggered ability, so I don't think there's like a trigger that you can put on the stack to respond to cast.
Where it just happens.
Correct. It just, I think it is it's not state-based, but it's close to that sort of thing where like it occurs if the condition has been met prior to the beginning of your end step.
Looking at their wording, it does say, if you control 3 or more artifacts at the beginning, the ability will trigger and go on the stack.
Yeah.
So you can actually respond to it, which is interesting.
Cool.
Yep. All right, so that's the main mechanics, a whole bunch of morph variations, and that's about it. Looks interesting. Like, they don't look bad. They all look quite good, which is nice. But yeah, then it looks like there's a whole bunch of other keywords that have been thrown into the set, as we sort of have been seeing over the last few sets that look interesting. We might get into some of those with a few of the cards that we want to talk about. So we might as well jump into those. We probably don't have enough time to go through all of them, but Chewy, you can kick us off with something you like in the look of.
Well, we've got the show notes. Let's just go down the list because we're kind of talking to them at the, when we're getting things set up. And I know, Cracker, you're really excited about this crime novelist. So I'm going to read it out and then you can tell me why it's awesome. So, crime novelist, 2 and a red for a 1/3 goblin bard, which is, you can bring back all of your party mechanics. When you sacrifice an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on crime novelist and add red. Okay. Why is this awesome, Cracker?
Have you heard of treasures? So I would like to. The card that I actually remembered that we talked about ages ago is another one called Gleaming Geardrake. And surprise, surprise, it's an Izzet card. So it grabbed my attention. But it's red blue for a 1/1 with flying, and it says when it enters the battlefield, investigate, and whenever you sacrifice an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on Gleaming Geardrake. So crime novelist just kind of pops off with this, but it also just pops off by itself. Like sacking a treasure and adding red or red plus any of the other colors that you need, and then like we said, that gives you the mana to sacrifice your clue token, which draws you a card and puts a +1/+1 counter on it. So for 2 mana and 2 artifact objects, you've got a card plus a 3/4, 3/5. All of a sudden, like this thing's just going to spiral out of control. I know that it doesn't need any help, but yeah, in Commander, if you've got I've gone blank on his name now, the goblin that enters the battlefield and makes treasures equal to the number of artifacts and enchantments your opponents control.
I can picture the art, but yeah, I know the one.
Dockside Extortionist.
Yes.
Thank you, Shorty. This is completely. That card's completely busted by itself. Also, I'd really like this with Smothering Tithe. Seems really good. Like treasures are broken, right? The fact that they just went and made a bunch of cards that give you Lotus Petals, and then this one doubles your mana. Like, I don't know. You boys are familiar, right? If it's free, it's me. You get free mana from somewhere, there's a way to break it.
Yeah. Although everything you've just said, whilst amazing, is kind of like fair. Like unfair, but fair. Like you're like, this is all the value you can get out of it. There is, like, this thing's going to be in combo decks. It's going to do combo things in like many formats, I think. Like, and instantly I went to Thopter Sword, but I am sure there is somebody out there with some sort of, bigger brain than we have collectively that has already busted this card wide open in, Modern or something, because it is so easy to abuse an ability that adds red mana. So yeah, it's a good card, but in a deck built around it to abuse it, it is going to be I win the game now. I'm going to do a lot of things, but just let's just scoop them up.
Yeah. The place that jumps to mind for Modern is like Asmo decks, which were, quite often junned, and you create just infinite artifact tokens in that. Just with, Overchase Daredevil and with Asmo itself and the cookbook, and like you just discarding, you just churn through your deck, and this just unlocks all that stuff in terms of creating mana and drawing cards like that will pop off, I think, if there's room for it in that deck. But yeah, that's kind of where I jump to.
Yeah, that's fair.
Potential brokenness in that card is what I see. What do we got next?
I'll jump in, not with a red card, with a white card that I saw popped up today on Twitter. Unyielding Gatekeeper, 1 and a white for a 3/2 Elephant Cleric that has Disguise, also for 1 and a white. When Unyielding Gatekeeper is turned face up, exile another target non-land permanent. If you controlled it, return it to the battlefield tapped. Otherwise, its controller creates a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. So, multi-use, this thing. You can put it down as a morph creature for 3 mana and then flip it over for 2, which is pretty good, pretty easy to do, and protect one of your own creatures. So someone targets one of your creatures with a removal spell, you can blink it. It does return to the battlefield tapped, which is obviously a slight downside, but if it means you're keeping your creature alive. It's also targeting non-land permanents, not just creatures, so that is quite big. Otherwise, if you want to get rid of something of your opponents, you can turn, that 5 mana enchantment or Emrakul into a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. Yeah, Planeswalker, whatever, battle, anything like that, you can turn it into a 2/2 creature. So we've seen, things like a card that Cracker has played a whole lot of, Beast Within, just turning non-land permanents into 3/3s has been good. We've seen a bunch of variations on that through the years. So, this is another one that's good. And it reminded me of when we were sort of talking about Morph in previous Karn's block. The card that really did see a lot of play was Den Protector, which was it was 1 and a green, and its Morph cost, or Megamorph in this case, was also 1 and a green. So same sort of cost, but this one was when it's turned face up, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. So completely different abilities, but just the 2 mana creature that can also be morphed or undisguised, revealed, whatever you're calling flipping them over.
Sure.
Yeah, for only 2 is has proven to be strong historically. So we may be seeing that with this creature. So what do you think?
Seems awesome. This modal spells are great.
Really powerful. Yeah, there is also the third mode, which is just casting it as a 2 mana 3/2.
Yeah, 2 mana 3/2.
Yep. Yeah. So, which is, in a white aggressive deck, is a thing that will come up. So this card's gas. It's a protection spell. It's a removal spell. It's a beater. Like it's everything that like a white aggressive deck wants. I can see you playing many of these, Cracker.
Yeah. I'll tell you what it's not. It's not a Loxodon.
Yeah, which is weird.
I mean, I guess they're like Mirrodin Plane.
No.
That's where they're like Loxodons? Oh no, Smiter was from other places, wasn't it? Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, I'm sure there's some reason.
Don't know.
Yeah.
But it's, whatever. Shorty, tell us about No More Lies.
No More Lies. Well, this is... Yeah. Well, somehow I'm not reading out a bunch of red cards. What's going on? We have Mana Leak back into Standard, which we've been saying we want for years and years and years, and finally we've basically got it. It's slowly improved, but the mana cost's different. 1 and a white.
Set after we get Cavern of Souls.
Yes. Yeah. 1 and a white, instant, counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Mana Leak text. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. So, Cracker, how many of these are you going to cast? 0.
No, I wouldn't say 0.
Well, it doesn't come in white bordered, so Cracker's not interested.
Listen, man. Jeskai decks, I'm on board. The problem is that it doesn't work with the thing that I just talked about because it's got no colours. But no, it's look, exiling stuff is really strong. That's all there is to it. Like, there's too many ways to cheat things out of graveyards, and having a spell that just gets rid of that as an option, very, very good. Do
you think decks in older formats, particularly the arena formats, that would play Dovin's Veto, would play this over the Mental Blank?
I think you'd play it over Dovin's Veto.
Oh, Dovin's Veto can't be counted. Like it's a pretty powerful negate. Would you play this over the one that you can sacrifice a creature to
Make disappear?
Make disappear, yeah. I think this replaces Make Disappear in like Explorer.
Probably the mana's tougher.
Yeah, but you're already playing Dovin's Veto, right? Like you're solidly blue-white. Like you're only playing maybe like a Field of Ruin or something or two as your non-blue-white sources. So I look at it. I'd look at it. I don't know if it's an auto. Like I don't know if it's an upgrade or whether it's just. How often are you sacking a creature in your deck to make them pay 4 instead of 2? So therefore is 3 more consistent, and is the exile more relevant in the meta at the time? I haven't played Explorer in a while, so I can't really answer that. But definitely that's where my mind goes with this. And if there's a deck if there's like some kind of blue-white control deck that comes out of Karlov Manor entering standard, then, this is obviously something they're going to look at pretty closely as well. I like the card. I just don't know if it's got a home.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. What do we got next? Cracker, you want to read one out?
Sure. Let's talk about Massacre Girl, because this is one I spotted when I was scrolling through.
She's back.
She's back. Massacre Girl, a known killer.
I thought you were going to talk about Judith, Cracker. That's your...
Listen. First of all... Rude. The one plus side about Judith, the one good thing about Judith here, boys, is that no one's going to be tricked at the early access event that it's a good card.
Very true.
So Massacre Girl, known killer, is 2 black for a 4/4. She has Menace, and creatures you control have Wither. Wither is a really old keyword, and it says when creatures. They deal damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters. So, very, very cool. Kind of like Soulscar Mage had effectively Wither. It was just never keyworded. That's probably the most recent spell I can think of that turns your damage-based spells into -1/-1 counters. And then it also has another ability. It says, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, if its toughness was less than 1, draw a card. So, obviously... it dies when it becomes a 0/0 rather than just having damage applied to it. So, yeah, obviously you're trying to do combat damage to creatures. Or if there was like Bile Blight or something like that swept the board, you'd, draw so many cards.
Yeah, just like dismember something, draw a card. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Yep. And a 4 mana 4/4 Menace is just good.
Solid.
It's worth remembering that -1/-1 counters and +1/+1 counters
they cancel each other out.
Negate each other.
Negate each
yes,
other.
they do.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if something's got a +1/+1 counter on it, and then you put a -1/-1 counter on it, you just remove the +1/+1 counter.
That's it. It has no counters.
Yep.
I've got one more I want to talk about real quick, which actually wasn't on the list, but it's 1 and a black for an instant called Long Goodbye. This spell can't be countered.
Oh, I like this card.
This includes by the ward ability. Destroy target creature or planeswalker with mana value 3 or less. I hate the words "this can't be counted," which means the cards are really good.
I like that they put on the additional text. This includes by the ward ability. Like that. That's a new player friendly thing because ward. If you don't pay the ward cost, it counters the spell. So it's not. It wasn't super intuitive to me the first time where I paid a ward thing, and it was like, oh, actually my spells can't be counted. It's like I don't need to pay the ward for it because the ward can't counter my spells. So yeah, it does sort of make it a little bit clearer for new players, which is good.
Would have been nice if we had this sometime in the last 2 years with just all these Rafines running around. Just nice clean answer there.
Yep. Well, Rafine's not 4 mana, is it?
No, it's 3.
No, it's 3.
It's just their spell.
It's 3
mana
or less, sorry. Yeah. Yes, exactly. But it's got ward as well.
Ward 1, yeah.
Yep.
Cool. We're getting a cycle of lands, Chewy.
Yeah.
Tell us about these.
I think these are pretty good. They are, I guess we're calling them the Surveil cycle. So, the blue-white one, is Meticulous Archive. It's a battlefield tapped, but it is a land, plains, island. So, you can fetch it with your, Misty Rainforest. So it's or you can get it with if someone besage you's, whatever. So it's having basic land types is really, really relevant. It's great. Coming into play tapped, not so great. But when Meticulous Archive enters the battlefield, Surveil 1. So that is a great thing to have in your in your deck. So I guess this is somewhere between an OG like Ravnica Jewel, like a Shockland, and a temple, right? So it's sort of running the line in between those two cycles. So it's a solid dual land that, Surveil is not unlike Scry.
No, it's better.
It's better than Scry, yeah, because you can put something.
Yeah, these are just strict upgrades on all the temples.
On the temples, yeah.
Yeah,
particularly in if you're playing temples in your commander deck, replace them with these, right? Straight up.
Yes,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
The fact that they're fetchable and, like you said, you can get them off Beseiju or any of that sort of stuff.
Farseek, right? Whatever you're doing in your commander deck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're pretty good. So there's a cycle of 10, which is, I believe there's 10. I don't know if all 10 have been previewed yet, but they're good. Like I did hear that they're not going to be in the rare slot. They're going to, even though they're rares, they're going to be in a different spot in a booster pack in the wildcard slot where you might get like the tokens and things like that normally. I haven't read anywhere that that's been confirmed, but I am hearing that. So that's cool because sometimes you sit down at your pre-release and you open your 6 boosters and you get 3 dual lands, and while you're like, okay, well, I've got these now, but you're also like, gee, I wish I had some rares for my sealed pool. So it's I think that's a pretty good way of doing it, as long as, they're
as long as that doesn't mean that the printing is actually more scarce.
Super rare. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, as long as
they won't be.
The numbers are up. And look, I don't think these are going to be super expensive.
Nah.
Like they might be, $5 each or something. And they're not going to be $25
Which is what the
each.
temples kind of were when they were in standard.
Yeah, yeah.
Temples were $1.
Oh, they aren't doing now.
They are now. When they first got
when they were
printed,
in standard, they were, and that was what you were playing in standard at the time.
The first time they were printed?
Yeah.
But they got printed into the ground, I guess.
Yeah, they did. They did. Yeah. But these are just an upgrade. So I think they're great. And I think, I play a number of temples in a couple of my commander decks, right? Some of my more budget decks and things, my lower powered deck, you throw in a temple and, the scry's good. But yeah, the ability to put something into the bin is much more powerful than putting it on the bottom of your library. So, yeah.
Well, especially in, like we just talked about before, the collect evidence mechanic, where you're wanting to exile things from your own graveyard. Having another way to easily put things into your graveyard is pretty handy.
There's also the descend mechanic, which is whenever a permanent card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, you descend from the previous set.
Yeah.
So that'll trigger those things as well. So yeah, there's a bunch of ways that Surveil is just
good better. Call out. Yeah, I like that. Speaking of calls, no,
we got 2 cards left to talk about, and they're both red Manor.
What are you referring to? Are you referring to? Oh my God, it's Lightning Helix!
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
that's the one. Yep. Yeah, Lightning Helix is back in standard. It's been a very, very long time. OG Ravnica was the last time we saw Lightning Helix in standard.
I've cast this card so many times. I'm so excited.
If you don't know what it does, it is red and a white for an instant. It deals 3 damage to any target, and you gain 3 life. So,
it's pretty much the best Magic card ever printed, by the way.
There's a little card called Electrolyze that I like better, but
okay,
it's very close.
So you guys heard of this card called Ancestral Recall or Assassin's Trophy?
Yes, also being reprinted into this set.
Obviously not the best card ever, but really great removal spell. Kills anything, they can go get a land.
Yeah, Standard's about to get, I know there's a 5 color deck in Standard, but the color requirements in Standard are going to get a little more demanding, I guess, with things like Assassin's Trophy and Lightning Helix and the like. There's even Deadly Complication is a solid removal spell, destroy target creature and put a counter on target suspect you control. You may have it no longer become suspected. There's a bunch of multicolored cards. It's Ravnica. You expect multicolored spells. So I feel like the mana demands, we'll be looking at the numbers in our mana bases probably a little more closely. But yeah, Assassin's Trophy and Lightning Helix, we can probably bundle them together in just like really good removal spells in Standard. So I like having both of them. They're really good options. Efficient removal. Creatures are really good. You know, you think about, the Ferox that we saw. There's like a 4-mana, 4/5 black creature that like drains you when you draw a card and when it's on the other side of the battlefield. I can't remember what it's called. Doesn't get played very often, but it's a good thing to kill. What's it called? Shieldred or something? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
That card doesn't see much play.
No, not at all. So, ways to deal with creatures have gotten better and better and better, but I feel like the removal spells, whilst we've had good removal spells, they haven't had the same sort of love that creatures have had. So this Assassin's Trophy and Lightning Helix feels like it doesn't catch them up, but it bridges the gap a little, and makes, because point removal's been garbage, like Doomblade, right? Or whatever, like terror effects, because creatures do so much these days that, like, if it's not a sweeper or doesn't give you some other type of value, think like the angel that with the kicker that like shoots stuff when it comes in, if you're not getting that extra value, like a straight up terror hasn't been good, but these are super efficient removal spells, then, they become more playable. And Lightning Helix also like kills planeswalkers and shoots face, and wins races. So it's great. So I love it. I'm really glad to see them back.
Yep, absolutely. All right, that'll do us for previews. The set is looking interesting and looking pretty cool. The next podcast we do in a fortnight will be just before the set, just before the pre-release, so we will have the full preview set by then, so we can go through a few more cards and maybe talk about the limited mechanics if we're going to do that sort of thing. We'll see how we go. Last thing on the way out the door is the Envy, the 2023 Envy.
Woohoo!
That we're going to be doing in March 2024.
The eventual Envy.
We're finally going to be getting it done. So yeah, it's taken a while to get there, but we did. And if you watched my stream on Tuesday night, you would have seen the final match. We had the AV Cable taking out Joffrey Bieber in the finals. It was a good match, actually, 2-1 victory. And a couple of misplays on Joffrey Bieber's part, but them's the breaks. So if you want to watch that, go and check it out on YouTube. We'll put the video up on there, cutting out all the fluff. You do miss out on the snack plate cam, but if you really want to see that, you can go and watch the VOD. So yeah, Envy will be, the stream for the Envy will be on the 2nd of March. The format's going to be standard. We've got our 16 players that have qualified. We will post up. I'm just waiting on J-Mud just to finish the actual final standings for me so I can release it, but I'll post that up with some details for the Envy in the next week. 16 players, be double elimination, and we'll be getting them to play the early rounds of that in advance like we've done in the last couple of years. And then, doing the stream, probably, 8 to 10 matches of the rest of the double elimination bracket until we crown the 2023 Invitational Champion. So going to be lots of giveaways, all the usual fun shenanigans that we have on those streams. So put that in your diary now, 2nd of March, and make sure you're tuning in because they are always a lot of fun. I'll be definitely looking forward to that. That's going to do us, I think, for this week. We've gone long and we started late, so late one tonight is what it is. It's what happens when we don't record for a month. So I will just quickly do the wrap-up on the way out and just say go to magicbeanscast.com and find the links for everything. That'll give you all the information you need. And if you would like to get a hold of me for any reason, you can find me on Twitter at Peace Inc. Chewy, you are?
At Chewy MTG.
And Cracker?
At Joel Hill _.
Very good. So that is going to do us for this week. Thank you, as always, for listening. Stay safe out there, and we will see you all next time.